Welcome to the Sangha House and our meditation YouTube channel. We're going to investigate this subject of anger, how we deal with it. I don't know about you, but I see lots of anger out in the world today, and I think we need a bit of an antidote. And hopefully, by listening to this, you'll realise that Buddhism, it actually sees emotions like anger as an opportunity for practice, both in the person receiving the anger and also the person giving it. We don't see these things as evil or wrong in that sense, because they're very, very human emotions, but they are an opportunity for practice. Sometimes some of these shows actually come to me because of my work on retreats. I run Tai Chi and meditation retreats, and there's something about retreat that opens the mind and the obvious questions come up. And once on retreat, I was leading a day examining compassion, a whole day on compassion. And one of the retreatants asked, on the surface, it sounded quite negative, but he asked, how can I possibly stay compassionate with someone who openly criticises me unfairly? It's a good question. We've all been in that situation. Someone gets the wrong end of the stick about us. Maybe the approach we're taking doesn't quite agree with their perspective, or even perhaps they're openly hostile to us. For whatever reason, they're seeking perhaps to undermine us. Like it or not, we all know people, we've had situations like this. And there's something about this type of situation which is especially hard to deal with. We have to work hard on something, really give it 100%. Perhaps we've delivered or completed something special for somebody and we get criticism back. It's one thing if they don't give us any positive feedback. It's completely another. In fact, it really grates if they do the complete opposite and actually criticise us openly for it after all our hard work. So the first thing to say, to reiterate, is that the reaction is human. Buddhism doesn't turn us into unemotional automatons. Of course not. We are human. We experience anger. Even the Dalai Lama talks about anger. And if anyone's got a justification to be angry, it's him. There's something called the Atlas of Emotions, and if you just Google it online, you'll find it fascinating read, supported actually by the Dalai Lama. And it examines this area of anger. And it talks about a graded sort of increase in our feeling of anger, the spectrum of emotions that we go through with anger. And they go through things like starting with low-level annoyance, then through to frustration, then exasperation, argumentativeness, bitterness, vengefulness, and then full-on fury. So you can see it's a real escalation. The thing is, we can move through this escalation of anger really quite quickly. And as we travel through this escalation, the emotional set, if you like, our ego, our mind, its ability to justify how we feel increases. So our mind will be justifying why we're feeling like this in a stronger and stronger manner as our anger escalates. And actually all emotions are like this, even the positive ones. And I think this is key to knowing how we handle this. A key component of anger is the action that comes out of it, the actions it triggers. Typically with anger, we've got things like dispute. We perhaps discuss the other person's position. Then we have passive-aggressive. That's a good one. There's a lot of that goes on actually in our society. And then open insult, quarrel, simmer and brooding, suppression. So perhaps we try and hold back, and that one's very close to passive-aggressive. And then we start to scream and yell, and then ultimately, unfortunately, physical force comes in. Our starting point to handle all of this is to reach out for stillness first. And that's hard. With something like anger, the mind fools us into thinking that the spectrum of actions coming out of the anger actually helps. Of course it doesn't. It makes absolutely no difference. The other person involved has probably wandered off. They've probably got an inkling about how you're feeling, even be aware of your action response. But the trigger for the anger is already out there in the universe. It's not going to just evaporate. Here's an example. I was on retreat once, and we were talking about how we felt towards others. One lady said to me, "I don't have any enemies, none whatsoever. I love everyone." It's a great sentiment, but I didn't believe it. So I challenged her on it, and suddenly she changed her tack and said, "Well, there is my ex-husband." And with that, there was immediate fire in her eyes. "There," I said to her. "Now sit with that anger for a moment and feel it. Just sit with it, feel it, and tell me how you feel." That was the explicit words I used. However, rather than telling me how the anger felt, she started to tell me what had happened to them, the things he had done to make her angry. Essentially what she was doing there was echoing out the thoughts that were arising in her mind. Of course she was. That's what we all do. We're going to delve into this further, but first we're going to discover some of the stillness that we actually need if we're going to cope with this by doing the body scan meditation. So we're going to have some nice music now. Set yourself up, get yourself a comfortable seat, make sure you're not going to be disturbed, and then we're going to do a meditation, and then we're going to dig into this a little bit further. Okay, enjoy this. Welcome back. So just relaxing into your seat. We're going to do this meditation now. Reach out for stillness, essentially. It's really important if we're going to learn to cope with this anger that we all experience and is perfectly human. So non-judgmental, that's the important thing. Let's just settle down into our seat. And just gently close your eyes and take a moment to tune into your experience, your surroundings, what's going on. Take a couple of nice deep breaths and settle in. Soften into the experience. And as you do this, just drop a gentle intent in the mind that actually you're going to let go of all the stories of your life, all the challenges, and you're just going to be, for this short period of time, completely here, completely present, just experiencing the meditation. I'm going to talk you through the body scan, and as I do this, you're going to focus on three experiential areas, and the first is pure sensation. What can you feel in your body as we travel through? And the second area of experience is tension. Actually seeking out in the body and letting go of tension. This helps with the stillness, the search for it. The more we soften and let go, the more still we become. And finally, the involvement of the mind, and letting go of this. The mind tries to interfere and involve itself in lots of ways. It may judge what you're feeling. There may be expectations there that you should feel more. We just let all of that go. And of course, thoughts may arise. Again, we notice them and we let them float away. So take your mind, your awareness, down into your feet. Feel your feet go into the sensations in the feet, inside the muscles and the sinews. Feel as much as you possibly can. What can you find? What can you feel in your feet? And also out on the surface of the skin, tiny little flecks of energy. What's going on? Tune into those experiences, pick one, take a look at it, see how long it lasts. Your focus comes to the soles of the feet and you feel that gentle contact with the ground. You travel up over the heels and up into the ankle bones. Not a great deal of sensation here, so we really have to work hard to see what we can find and feel. Now we come up, travelling up through the shins and the calf muscles, softening and letting go, and up into the knees. What can you feel in your knees, in the kneecaps? Behind the knees. As we travel through the body, you may find discomfort or pain occasionally. And if you do, notice how you react. Sometimes with tension. So we try to soften into that. Dealing with discomfort and pain in meditation is extremely similar to dealing with it in life. Soften into the area, bring a sense of friendship to it. Now we travel along the thighs and the hamstrings, perhaps feeling the gentle contact of our clothing, hands resting on them. And up into the sitting bones, letting go into the seat. Feeling that contact with the earth. Relaxing down. The earth's stillness, solid, safe. Bring a sense of that up through the seat into the body. Feel it. Gentle vigilance to see if the mind is interfering. Just notice and let it go. As you sink down, let the head float up and bring a gentle sense of strength into the posture. This will help you to stay present and fresh in the mind. And very important to working with emotions, we come into the heart space and the gut. How does your heart feel? How does your gut feel? You may notice that as soon as the mind becomes aware of emotion, thoughts come, trying to explain, trying to justify. Just notice that behaviour and let it go. Focus on pure awareness of feeling in the heart and the gut. Now we come up to the shoulders and let them soften, easing out tension. And gently let our awareness flow down the arms and down into the hands and the fingers. Lots of sensation in the hands and the fingers here. Just experience that. Now come back up to the head and explore the scalp. What can you feel across the surface of the head? Tiny tingling sensations. Soften in the face, let go. Bring a gentle smile into the face. Contentment. Compassion. Feel that reflected in the eyes. Softened. Let that feeling come right through the body. That compassionate smile reflected down from the face right through the body, toes to the top of the head. Heart softens. All of this experience. Just sitting with this full picture, feeling the space around you, the earth supporting you, your body sitting in this space, and your heart containing your emotions. The full picture of what's happening in you in this moment, right now. Just sit with this. Okay, so we've looked at anger, the escalation of anger, and how the mind seems to justify and explain to us why and how we're feeling like this. And I gave you the example earlier of this lady who thought of her ex-husband, and straight away you saw that anger, and then she started justifying it. She was voicing the mind's thoughts as they were coming up. But this justification doesn't help. In the case of this angry lady, she was justifying why she was angry when she thought of her ex-husband. I asked her a simple question. I said, "Is your husband here with you?" And she said, "Of course not, no." "Okay," I said, "does he even know you're here on this retreat?" "Nope, I haven't seen him for years." "Right," I said. "Is he aware right now how you are feeling, what you are thinking?" And she looked a little confused. I think she was unsure where all this was going. And she said, "No, of course not." And actually, I now got a bit of a vibe of anger from her coming towards me. That's quite interesting. My strange line of questioning. So I said to her, "Therefore, given he's got no knowledge of you and how you're feeling right now, how can this anger you are feeling right now be his fault? And at that point, I was watching her eyes and the penny dropped. She smiled and actually she said she felt much better. We own our anger. It's our response. And we can choose through practice to respond a different way. Note again, there's no judgment here. Anger's a very human thing. But if we're choosing spiritual and perhaps emotional growth in our lives, situations where anger arises can actually be seen as an opportunity for practice. We choose to sit with the anger, to learn from it. In reality, we have some tools we can use here that meditation gives us. In meditation, we're looking to build a habit of thinking in a different way. And this slowly filters into our daily lives. It subtly changes actually how we respond to situations, how we respond to things like anger, or things like the situations that trigger anger, little by little. And the first step is to focus on the nature of the emotion itself. We put our focus there. The mind, the ego, the sense of self will still try to interfere with justification, argument, attempted understanding, rationalization, etc. It wants to justify that it's right about this anger, essentially. That's what's going on. And what we do is we notice that arising and let it go. We notice the influence of those types of thoughts coming in and we let them go. The important thing is to notice. It's as if you're sitting observing your own mind. Well, actually, that's exactly what you're doing. We can adjust our language. Rather than thinking, I'm getting really angry about this, we merely direct our thinking response to, there is anger arising here in what I am observing. Very different way of thinking. The second big tool we have here, and perhaps one that will take a little longer, is compassion or love. Again, the deeper we experience this particular type of emotion, the more we exhibit in action. Just the same as anger, compassion works the same way. So we can search our hearts, soften into them, offer out love and compassion. But how on earth can we offer out compassion to someone that's wronged us? Remember that the root of all suffering here that the Buddha laid out for us is desire, aversion and delusion. Here we are working on spiritual and emotional growth, working to change our response to these three roots, desire, aversion and delusion, to gradually release us from their hold. The person who wrongs us, the chances are they're working this way because of these three roots, at least one of them, maybe a combination. So they might want something from us or over us. Perhaps they're pushing away some aspect in their experience of us that they're having difficulty with, disconnecting themselves in that sense from us. Or they are seeing an untrue image of the situation between us presented by their own minds, delusion. And out of this delusion, further desire or aversion arises because of it. It is important that we acknowledge our role in all of this. If we have done something wrong, we must hold our hands up and learn from it. Remorse is very, very strong. It builds us. Guilt doesn't. That burns us out from the ground up. In Buddhism, we see remorse as a skillful emotion because we learn from it. We build. Guilt, well, it's often very self-indulgent. We kind of wallow in it and sink deeper, feeling sorry for ourselves. So we recognize the work that we are doing on ourselves, working for spiritual and emotional growth. And perhaps we take a look at the other person and realize that they are trapped by their desires, their aversions, and the delusion that's there. Maybe there's no work going forward towards spiritual growth, that freedom and deep connection that we all want, we all need. It's only through work that we can get that. But we need to be aware here because there is a close enemy. It is incredibly easy to drop into a sort of a pious, patronising attitude here. We need to keep our compassion focused and pure, ensuring that we have a genuine desire for the other person to be released from their suffering. Otherwise, well, our compassion will lack integrity. And in Buddhism, we call this spiritual bypassing. We aren't really learning. We're hiding behind spirituality. And actually, that's just motivated by those same three base roots of suffering: desire, aversion, delusion. But now we're desiring our spirituality, or we're pushing away people that perhaps aren't practicing it, and we're deluded by it. We've got a false view. We think we are pious. We think we are beautiful spiritual beings. So we really have to be very careful with this one. We're going to take a look at this. For this meditation, you need an episode in your life, a moment when somebody made you angry. So I'm going to play some music. See if you can pick that moment. I'm sure there's lots. Try not to think about it too much, and then we'll have an explore. Okay, so settling back down into your seat, we're going to take a look into this emotion of anger by just very gently replaying an episode in our lives. Don't start thinking about it yet. It's very tempting to drop into thought. We must re-establish that stillness that we felt in the first meditation. So just gently close your eyes, bring yourself back into a meditative posture. Just settle a gentle intent in the mind that you're going to stay with the practice again. Letting go of the challenges of life. Just be here, fully present, fully aware of everything that's going on inside of you as we meditate. Gentle intent. And re-invoke, bring to mind the full body sitting in your space. Feel it again, and the toes to the top of the head. Softening the body, relaxing and letting go of tension. Just being here. Demands of life, they can keep for a while. All that matters is your practice right now. If you pick up voices or noises distracting you, just notice how they distract you rather than following their stories, and come back to the present moment. And just become aware of your body breathing for me. Just feel it. Probably feel it in the chest area first as the ribcage gently rises and falls. Just experience that. Just enjoying the breath coming and going. Feel it. Again, gentle vigilance for the influence of mind. Now adjust the focus so that you feel the breath breathing into the heart space. Breathe into that space. Notice the emotional energy there. Just feel it. Developing a nice, strong impression of that breath as you breathe into the heart space. Fixing on that experience, that aspect of your experience. Feel the breath, feel the heart. Notice if the mind tries to pull you away, just gently come back to the breath, breathing into the heart space. Now I want you to try to stay connected to this heart space while you bring to mind your episode in your life that made you angry once before. Gently bring the story to mind and see it. Just replaying perhaps the interchange with another person. Notice how the heart feels. Focus on the feeling in the heart space as you replay this story. You may feel that emotional tension come in. Also, gently notice what the mind does. Yes, it replays the story, but it probably starts to offer you arguments, judgments, justifying your position in the argument. Notice that and feel that coming up. Notice those thoughts of justification, rationalization, attempting to understand the other person. Notice all of that. Here, we are not here to dig into that. So just notice those thoughts with interest. This is the mind, the sense of self, the ego, reaching out to justify its position. We notice that arising. we literally notice the arising of the ego in our experience, sense of self. Take an interest. And by noticing these things, we can let it go. Just soften. With the background of the story still present, we bring our awareness back to the heart space and we breathe into it. Softening into the tension that's perhaps grown there. Choosing how we respond to the anger produced by the story. Soften, open the heart. Gently we offer out that sense of compassion, that open-hearted nature to the other person involved in the story. Notice if there's resistance to this. Justification comes back. The ego tries to stop us from doing this. Work through that. Soften. Open the heart. No matter what they've done, they are not aware of us at this moment. We can offer out that compassion. It does not diminish our position. It does not weaken our position. We are practicing, working on ourselves, developing emotionally and spiritually, taking ourselves forward, using this opportunity to do that. Soften. Gentle smiling demeanour in the face, behind the eyes, in the heart, offering this out. And we can drop a gentle intent into our minds and our hearts that we'll take this practice out into our week, noticing when we start to respond to situations with tension and anger. And by noticing, we can choose to soften. Like ripples in a pond, we make a difference. Om Mani Padme Hum.